You're hanging out in the House of Sunny podcast, where it's always sunny, mostly because of your host, comedian and YouTuber, Sunny Loman. Want to know what Sunny and her friends are thinking about this week? Well, here she is, Sunny Loman.
Hey everybody, welcome to the program. It's another sunny day, mostly because I'm here, your host Sunny, and I'm here with Doug from The Rational Capitalist. Hey Doug, what's going on?
Hello, Sunny. How are you today?
Well, I'm good. It's summer.
It is summer.
I'm enjoying it. How about you?
Finally, it's here.
Yeah, well, it's kind of here all the time in California, so
No, it's not.
I don't have that same sense.
Don't tell me that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
But it's been a shitty spring for most of the country, probably except you.
I'm in that bubble now where everyone else is flyover country. Like, what are you talking about? Summer's been here for months.
All the deplorables suffering in their shithole, white trash
just
trailer
move
parks.
to the coast. What's wrong with you?
Just get a job as a programmer at Facebook.
Learn to code, dude.
Exactly.
Okay, so today we're just going to cover kind of a grab bag. We're going to cover the accusation against Trump, the sexual assault accusation. We're going to cover some Google News. We're going to talk about student loan payoffs, kids in camps, and
What?
not summer camps.
Oh,
Concentration.
I took my kid to summer camp yesterday.
Yeah.
So okay.
I hope it wasn't a concentration camp that you accidentally stuck him into.
No, there is free soap though.
Oh, good. Well, you know, when I was a camp counselor, this is a digression, those kids didn't have soap either. I don't know what we're talking about.
I know. Our grandparents said, jump in the lake.
Well, that was exactly it. We were swimming every day, so you kind of didn't really need to shower. And then, but you know, after like 5 days of this, the kids started to kind of smell. So then we would have a suds contest where we'd line the kids up on the dock, give them all a sliver of soap, and then the person who got the sudsiest won a prize.
I like that.
But
that's a great metric, by the way, sudsiest.
Yeah.
Very scientific.
Yes, it was. And it wasn't subjective at all.
Very good. So
Anyway,
we're covering up. This is a potpourri show.
If you want to get kids to clean up, you just give them a prize for doing it. Yeah, it's
if you want kids to do anything, give them a prize.
Yeah.
This is like the Jeopardy category. Don't they have a potpourri?
Right.
Okay.
So we can start with Trump rape. Trump rape
Is that
victim.
what it was?
I don't even know. She apparently a woman who writes, actually I know this woman because I think she writes for Cosmo or Glamour or something. She's been writing an Ask Jean column for years. You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah. No, but I know what she is.
Okay, I just Googled it. Jean Carroll. She has been writing an advice column. This crazy woman has been writing an advice column for young women, of course, for Elle.com for years. And I mean, I've been reading her advice column for years. Something is wrong with her. So I'm going to play. Her accusation is that she runs into Trump buying some lingerie. He says, why don't you try it on for me or something? Or she offers to. Next thing you know, they're in a dressing room and she's modeling the sexy lingerie for him. And then, shock of all shocks, he makes a pass at her in that moment. An unwelcome pass, I might add.
When I have random strange women model lingerie for me in department stores,
and they say yes.
If they say yes, I mean, I'm very, it's a platonic contract. There's no expectation whatsoever.
It would be very sexist to assume that when a woman is modeling sex clothes for you in a closed room in a department store after running into you and not really even knowing you, that she actually would welcome that you hit on her. And that's actually a myth.
It is a myth.
So, all right. So the story gets crazier. Like, if that's not crazy enough for you, she went on Anderson Cooper CNN, and this was really funny. I'm going to play it for you now.
Victim.
You don't feel like a victim?
I was not thrown on the ground and ravished, which the word rape carries so many sexual connotations. This was not sexual. It hurt. It just, you know.
But I think most people think of rape as it is a violent assault. It is not.
I think most people think of rape as being sexy.
Let's take a short break.
Think of the fantasies.
We're just going to take a quick break. If you can stick around, we'll talk more on the other side.
You're fascinating to talk to.
You're fascinating to talk
Oh, my God. Anderson Cooper, take a short break. I'm just going to play that end for you because that's so
We got to hear
funny.
that again.
Let's take a short break.
Think of the fantasies.
We're just going to take a quick break. If you can stick around, we'll talk more on the other side.
You're fascinating to talk to.
So then at the end there, she says, "You're fascinating." She's looking him right in the eye and she's nodding. It's really intense when you watch it, when you watch the actual video. She's nodding, she's looking him in the eye, and she says that.
Does CNN do any due diligence whatsoever on their stories, on their journalists, on the people
Apparently
they're about
not.
to interview?
You know, I can understand why they thought that she was probably sane, seeing as how she writes an advice column. But yeah, it's like they just want that story so bad. They've just humiliated what I think is probably an insane person.
Well,
I mean, she
and
obviously
by the
needs
way,
help. It's
giving
kind of
people
sad.
advice is not a criteria for sanity. Like, I give people advice all the time.
Not professionally, Doug.
But it's very good advice, you have to admit. And I'm somewhat crazy.
Someone pays her to give advice. And
Oh,
she's an author. She's written some books. So, you know, I mean, I didn't assume that she was nuts. When I heard about her accusation, I thought, oh my gosh, like what a high profile person to come forward with something like this.
But let's step back for a second. First of all, she's 75 now, claims this was in the 90s, which implies that she was probably in her late 50s when this happened.
Mm-hmm.
So Trump, right? For some reason, billionaire Trump, famous Trump, decides to go to the department store. Is this what billionaires are doing now?
Yes.
Like, do we see Jeff
Billionaire
Bezos
Trump.
and Bill
That
Gates
is a really good point.
at Target or
Shopping
at,
for himself.
Yonkers or
Yeah.
something like that? And then so he's shopping for, he decides not to send out his assistant or any of his staff to get him a gift, but he decides to just wander around Fifth Avenue, hop into Bergdorf Goodman to buy some underwear. And then famous Trump, who no one recognizes or really knows who he is or whatever, anonymously walking through, meets this woman and decides he's going to go into a dressing room with her and like no one's going to see this or notice this. And then he's going to rape her or sexually assault her. And like this is, and so he's going to rape like basically a late 50s, 60-year-old woman in a department store. This is what we're to believe.
You know, every newspaper or news organization needs to just hire a skeptic. Just somebody who's going to go, yeah, right, like that happened. Like,
But that's what journalists are supposed to
for
be,
every.
skeptics.
Oh,
That's
are they?
what-
Oh, I didn't know.
Of course,
that. Yeah,
like you're supposed to get sources and evidence, and you have to get people to corroborate it. I mean, you don't just, crazy people are approaching you all the time if you're a journalist saying,
I know. I'm just kidding. Like these days, they're obviously all on this agenda. They need to have like that one guy in the office who will just be like, yeah, right.
but I don't.
Because
I think
honestly, like the way you're talking, I'm like, yeah, why didn't they go through that analysis? Let alone meet her before putting her on TV and judge whether or not she was insane. I mean, the makeup person probably knew she was insane before she put her on Anderson Cooper.
They should probably ask the janitor or someone like that, just because all these coastal liberal elite types in their bubble, I just don't think they're so Trump deranged. I think you could literally come into the studio claiming anything and they would put you on. I mean, they had Avenatti on.
That's
for
right.
months,
That's right.
remember?
Yeah.
Claiming everything. I mean, remember he was claiming Kavanaugh gang raped?
Yes. That was nuts. I loved it though when that one came out. You were like, is Avenatti really a spy for the Trump campaign? Because that one was so crazy that it discredited everything else. You know, if you're going to come out with this like weird gang rape in high school story, repeated, I'm a victim of going to a party over and over and over for weeks with the same boys who gang raped me. Oh, poor me.
It's the 7th party in a row I've been gang raped by the same guys.
And they were 16, 17-year-old white dudes from upstate.
I think that
crazy.
was the jump the shark moment for the mainstream media.
It was so yes, it was. It was certainly for all the Me Too accusations against Trump. It was like, and then I saw some, you know, the left, though, will believe whatever you put in front of them. I saw somebody saying the reason that E. Jean Carroll is not being taken as seriously is because there have just been so many accusations. The sheer volume of accusations against Trump means that she's being kind of drowned out, and it's unfortunate. And I'm like, you mean all the bullshit? It's not just like Cosby had a lot of accusations, and that buried him, but they were credible. Anyway.
And they were made in a court of law.
Yeah.
Where there was actual, you know, evidence being collected. And the tone of these articles is like, and then the funny thing too is Trump's response.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. Trump's response is, she's not my type. I would assault a woman in a dressing room wearing lingerie, but this particular woman is not my type.
And then, but then the tenor of
We're just going to take a quick break. If you can stick around, we'll talk more on the other side.
You're fascinating to talk to.
Oh, brother. Okay.
But if he denies it, that's more to the left. That's more evidence that he's guilty. Just like when Kavanaugh was denying it, they were like, "That's exactly how a date rapist would deny it." that's date rape talk right there.
It's so like the Salem witch trials. It's like we have to drown her to see if she floats, then she's a witch. We kill her. If she sank. Oh, I guess she wasn't a witch. Well, she's dead now. It's the same mentality. Like,
I love that liberals have completely abandoned the concept of due process or anything. They've just completely unmasked themselves as, complete tyrants.
It is such an odd shift, though. Like when we were young, it was the Republicans who were like for music censorship and video game censorship, and there was this impression of them that they were these sort of church lady scolds, and now it's the left. And that actually, so today we were going to talk about, just talk about our sketch comedy ideas that we've had in the past, which we write but never actually write the scripts for.
Right.
And you texted me earlier today, hey, I got this sketch comedy idea. So I said, hey, let's just, we're giving away all our golden ideas here, but whatever, we haven't made them into sketches. So,
well, they will never get produced because they're from our perspective. So we know that no one will ever make them or produce them.
Unless we'd have to do it ourselves. When we get around to running a sketch comedy troupe, these we'll make them all. But I had one, that's kind of along those lines where I had this sketch comedy idea where it was kind of taking the Debbie Downer, the exact same format of the Debbie Downer sketch at SNL. For people who aren't familiar with it, typically, you're at a party or whatever, people are talking about something, and there's this one person who's always, the thing that she has to say about it is like somebody died, or, like she'll tell you something gross about what you're talking about or something awful about what you're talking about.
Yeah, like that cake at the party was delicious, except for all the starving children in Africa.
And then the camera would focus in on her face, and it would be wah, wah.
Exactly.
And she's dressed in brown, and she just has this like really dull face and everything. So it would be just like that, except it's a Democrat. And like a black person's talking to a white person at the party, and she comes up and says, you guys shouldn't talk to each other. She's white. And then, this person's just milling around the party doing SJW stuff. You can't use that straw.
Exactly.
That straw, if you use that straw, it'll get flushed out into the ocean and end up in a turtle's nostril.
Wah, wah.
Wah, wah, wah. And like everybody at the party's just like, geez.
God, stop.
God,
Yes.
just go away.
That's
how we
got to
all
be
feel.
like how those parties are, though. They must really be like that. Could you imagine going to a Hollywood party today? I mean, is that what those people are? It must be what they're like.
Well, no, they're actually orgies, is what we've learned.
That's all that's left.
It's actually, yeah, just free,
no topic
dirty,
that-
nasty sex is the only thing available to these people.
Well, and transgender stuff and everything.
Yeah.
So maybe that every other topic is so taboo and off limits for them that it just descends into a sexual,
Well, that was like Amy
orgy.
Schumer's comedy, where it went from good comedy to the only thing she was allowed to talk about as an SJW queen was how dirty her vagina is. And that's like, it was an hour of just gross vagina jokes. Yeah. That was the only thing safe. So,
Yeah. Poor
all right.
Amy.
What's next? Google. Google is in the news. And Project Veritas has a video of one of their people, not a low level, not the janitor, basically admitting, just casually boasting that they would be. Oh, sorry. That video suddenly was playing again.
It's fascinating.
We're
Play
just
it.
going to take a quick break. If you can stick around, we'll talk more on the other side.
You're fascinating to talk to.
I think the only demographic CNN has left are conservatives just watching it for moments like that.
Have you ever heard a more awkward transition to commercial in your life?
Oh wait, before you do Google, can I tell you this story? Because it was another awkward transition. I think it was yesterday on Fox. I was watching Martha McCallum, and she was talking about this event that took place. I think it was in Washington at a library where they had drag queen story hour, and this is happening all over the country, where they're trying to normalize transgenders, and they're having these events where drag queens come in and talk to children.
Right.
So this was promoted as a teen event, and they had these drag queens come in. So anyways, she has this guy on who is defending it, who's basically saying, oh, this is, some kids feel different and they just want to express that it's okay to be different, and blah blah blah, and okay, that's reasonable. And so then there's this group protesting it. We got to find this clip. I'm sorry I didn't find it. I could not find it when I Googled for it, but maybe we can find it next time. So there's this group called 500 Moms Strong, and they've had enough, with the sexualization of children, and they're right. By and large, they're right. This is like ridiculous. So Martha said, hey, she comes on and she's like, we're really upset by this. And Martha says, well, what about this argument that they're just trying to teach kids that it's okay to be different and stuff? And she goes, Martha, I'm a grandmother, and sometimes kids want to pretend they're Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or that they're Superman or Batman. But my kid isn't a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. He's not Superman or Batman, and he's not transgender. And then she goes, and Martha's like, okay. And she goes, like I tell him, just look in your underpants. If you got one thing, you're a boy. If you got the other, you're a girl. And Martha's like, okay, we're going to go to commercial now.
Oops.
Awesome. It was so great.
500 moms. I love it.
Yeah.
But the problem is you're going to have another group, 501 moms. And then what are you going to do?
502. I don't know. Just escalate.
Keep changing the name.
Just one more.
I think you could
All right.
find 500 moms that would push any agenda. And you could just have that. That's a perfect name.
I like how they've quantified it, though, because it gives you an image. They're not just saying moms. They're saying 500. That's
There's
pretty
exactly
formidable.
500 of us.
That's
and we say, just look in your pants, Johnny.
Look in your underpants. Like I tell my kids, look in your underpants.
I tell my kids to look at their wee-wees.
And even Martha, who's right wing, she was like, oh, I can, let's go to commercial. Totally cuts her off. Brilliant.
Kind of like this.
Yes.
We're just going to take a quick break. If you can stick around, we'll talk more on the other side.
You're fascinating to talk to.
Okay. So, all right, Google. So Google got caught basically admitting that this is what's so, it's a smoking gun, people. Like an employee said, yeah, of course we manipulate search. Of course we do it to try to elect Democrats. But we all knew that. Sometimes this kind of thing drives me nuts. Like Project Veritas, like it's supposed to be some big revelation. I'm sorry, but we knew this 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
But Sonny, they will not admit it. I mean, they, as a company, their statements,
won't.
And it's illegal what they're doing in terms of the law. Yes.
Why?
Well, they're potentially violating campaign finance and the neutrality.
No, because you have the right to be on a side.
No, well, it can be considered an in-kind contribution, though. And they're supposed to be a neutral platform for purposes of their immunity shield.
I mean, for me, I think it's kind of just, it's like, I'm tired of the fraud. This is what I see as this whole thing. It's a major legal issue, I think, going on with social media is the fraud. But the fact that they don't admit it doesn't mean we don't all know it's happening, although it gives cover, I guess, for people who want to pretend like it's not happening to say it's not happening. They're waiting for the CEO to come out and be like, yeah, this is what we do. I don't know. I think it's great because any person who claims it's not going on, because there are those people, though. Oh, totally.
I've even heard
I know some
libertarianish people
That's what
say,
I'm talking about.
No,
I know some objectivists.
Right.
Ben Baer, who says that...
oh, no.
No, I don't know if he does anymore.
According to the New York Times.
Yeah, according to the New York Times. Some objectivist shared a New York Times article this morning about these concentration camps that we're running, apparently, at the border.
Yes.
And was like, this is despicable and outrageous. And I'm just like, are you freaking kidding me? The New York Times. And then somebody in the comments section posted that Candace Owen video of her going down to the detention center and showing how, like, what a fun, not fun, obviously, but how nice it is,
they have
actually.
Soccer fields and health clubs. And
it's colorful, it's clean.
Education centers.
The food is good. And she, like, had a firsthand video that we've all seen. We've all seen the video. And the New York Times, their whole piece is based on the testimony, the verbal, this is what these guys said. And it's 3 lawyers from activist groups that promote, open immigration.
Right.
So that's the New York Times article. Yeah.
They don't have free soap.
Slow your outrage roll, people.
Jesus.
And stop sharing the New York Times like it's legit. Anyway, so back to Google. I wanted to tell you something that I searched for the other day. You and I were doing an episode about immigration, or I was doing research and prep for doing a future episode on immigration. And I thought, wouldn't it be fun to start, like we used to start the show with a joke, which we should get back to, but wouldn't it be fun to find like a immigration joke or an ethnic joke, like maybe kind of an old school joke, because like we used to be so free to be able to be like a Polak, an Italian, and an Irishman walked into a bar, like that kind of joke.
I love how this counts as your research.
Totally is, dude. But you know what? I also tortured myself with Cato writings on immigration for a couple of days too.
Reward.
I did. It was a special reward.
Looking up ethnic jokes.
So I Google ethnic joke. Okay, that's what I Google, and I'm looking for a Polak, an Italian, and I'm trying to. I want to show we used to make fun of our differences, and immigrants used to be poked fun of, and they were all white. Like it has nothing to do with brownness. And here we are today, and we're not allowed to like make a joke or even comment on people being part of a group or part of a stereotype. Anyway, so I'm looking for this joke, and I Google ethnic joke, and I get pages of articles about how ethnic jokes are wrong. I'm not. Wow. I mean, like article after article of like no jokes. Okay, just article after article, and I went to page 2, I went to page 3, I went to page 4, and it was like, You can't tell ethnic jokes. Here's why ethnic jokes are bad. Article after article. I go over to DuckDuckGo. I put in ethnic joke. And guess what I get? Number
Ethnic
one,
jokes.
ethnic jokes.
25,000 of the best ethnic jokes.
That was like hit number one was like one of those joke databases. And I went to that one, and they had a huge amount of really fun ethnic jokes. And then, and it was page after page of that type of link, of jokes, of actual jokes to, oh my God. I mean, so Google is, when you warp your search, it was the first time that I had to go to DuckDuckGo to get a better search versus like I would go there to hide or I would go there to avoid Google. But I've never gone there because Google's search was broken. And this was the first time.
Well, during the election, there was articles coming out about Google search, and I did it myself where I typed into Google Hillary, and you start putting in like conspiracy.
Yeah, if you want any news about Hillary, you have to go somewhere else. That's for sure.
If you started, how it keys in, it autofills. So you would do Hillary, CONS or for like conspiracy or something or criminal or whatever.
Right.
And Google would be like, Hillary throws party. Hillary congratulates, disabled victim. It was all this like hyper pro Hillary stuff. And then you go to Yahoo or DuckDuckGo or any of those, and it was like criminal, conspiracy, throw in jail, lock her up.
Yeah, and DuckDuckGo it's like legitimate search. It's not skewed search.
Right.
So, we all know Google skews its search. We all know. I thought the ethnic joke one was really funny, though. Like, they took the time to basically, they don't want you to laugh. They don't want you to have jokes.
Nope,
that's
do that.
something that Google has decided you shouldn't see.
No.
And they were pretty damn funny jokes too. Should I look it up and say the joke?
Yeah, do a couple.
Do that while we're sitting here. Okay, so the other thing we can talk about are these kids in the camps. That's big news right now. I mean, first of all, AOC said that the detention camps for refugees were like concentration camps. And of course, she's been taken to task for that remark by a bunch of people who know better. I don't know what to say about this. But for some reason, it's not leaving the news. Like she said that, and it's still in the news that we're putting kids in concentration camps.
Right. I can't think of anything more. There was a great meme, of course, that came out of, actual pictures of a concentration camp and then pictures of these detention centers, distinguishing them. I mean, could you imagine having, and there were actually a lot of people on the left who took her to task, people that lost family members or, had direct experience with the Holocaust that were like, are you kidding me? Like,
right.
What are you? And so I was glad to see some reaction. But, it just goes to show, I can't believe, I have trouble finding the words to express like what an outrage she is and how she is it goes to show you that people that are that preposterous, I guess, get the attention because they get the clicks and they get the media coverage.
Yeah.
It's partly like why Trump was so popular,
but,
I guess, too.
even after embarrassing herself and you think, oh, that was really embarrassing for her. Now the New York Times runs a piece. Like, they don't let it go. They double, triple, quadruple down on that idea. And now you have the New York Times saying that the camps are concentration camps, that the detention centers are concentration camps. And I just saw another article talking about how the conditions, with these, it's just so outrageous. And first of all, I don't believe those facts. I think that probably we're really doing the best we can.
Oh, my God.
The lawyer saying, apparently said, the kids are filthy. It's like, well, did they just get there? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like,
well, and whose fault is it? There's hundreds of thousands of people pouring into the border illegally.
Right.
And what do you expect? Like, Ritz-Carlton? I mean, it's such an outrage on so many levels.
Who's going to
that
pay for that? You know what I mean?
the taxpayers.
It's just...
I'm sitting here in the middle of the country. I'm expected to pay for illegal immigrants through my taxes who are coming through the border so that they can have a great experience.
We're talking millions of people.
Right.
Because it's
if you don't like it, don't
a couple
come.
100,000
Leave.
a month right now.
You know, and if you're sitting there and it's that bad, say, I want to leave. I'm going back.
Right. Go back. I mean, that's the other thing. That, to me, the distinguishing trait.
I'll apply for citizenship legally. That's what you're supposed to do.
Well, people.
So too fucking bad.
I know, right? People are putting themselves in these detention camps. Like, that's what we're not putting them in the camps. They're putting themselves in the camps by crossing the border.
And
illegally,
they're putting their children in the camps.
Putting the children in the camps. I mean, they think that's a better plan than staying in their former country. They know that it's going to happen, and they're coming anyway. So it's not exactly like, Jews didn't put themselves in Auschwitz. Anyway.
Yeah, it's not like the United States government is rounding these people up off the streets. These people are coming in illegally. We don't know who they are. And there is a process, even though it's ridiculous, that they should be going through. Then they request asylum and they have to sit there for 20 days before they're just released free into the country. And they're just dropping these people all over the place. I mean, this is a total fiasco.
It is. It's such a fiasco. I think, what really needs to happen is Congress has to act. And I feel like Trump should come down on the extreme hard, shut it down, be ruthless. It's over. The gravy train is over. No more, he has the power to do this.
I don't know that he does.
With emergency powers and things like that. I mean, it's seriously a crisis.
I think he has, and it was injuncted by the Ninth Circuit every time they do that.
They don't even have the jurisdiction to do that. So, anyway, he could be a tough guy about this. He could try. We'll see. I don't know. I'm no lawyer. But anyway, that's what, if I were him, I would try to do that. And then if anybody is upset about it, say, fine, pass the laws that handle this crisis. Change the immigration law. Figure it out. I mean, nobody's dealing with this.
Right.
They're just letting it happen, and we're having effective open immigration, and that isn't what the law is. So do you want to hear my ethnic joke?
Yeah.
All right. A Mexican, a Muslim, and a Chinese guy are riding in a truck. Who is driving?
Who?
Immigration.
Oh.
Wah, wah, wah.
Wah, wah.
Okay, I have another one. Juan comes up to the Mexican border on his bicycle. He's got 2 large bags over his shoulders. The guard stops him and says, "What's in the bags?" "Sand," answers Juan. The guard says, "We'll just see about that. Get off the bike." The guard takes the bags, rips them apart. He empties them out and finds nothing in them but sand. He detains Juan overnight and has the sand analyzed only to discover it's just sand. The guard releases Juan, puts the sand into new bags, hefts them over to the man's shoulders, and lets him cross the border. The next day, the same thing happens. The guard asks, "What have you got?" "Sand," says Juan. The guard does his thorough examination and discovers it's sand. He gives the sand back to Juan, and Juan crosses the border on his bicycle. This sequence of events is repeated every day for a year. Finally, Juan doesn't show up one day, and the guard meets him in a cantina in Mexico. "Hey, buddy," says the guard, "I know you're smuggling something. It's driving me crazy. I think about it. I can't sleep. Just between you and me, what are you smuggling?" Juan sips his beer and says, "Bicycles."
Nice.
Oh, that was a long joke. Okay.
Yeah, it's a long joke, but it was almost worth it.
Almost. It was almost worth it. Okay. So that apparently is something Google doesn't want you to hear. So there you go.
Yeah,
What?
you can't tell those jokes in Silicon Valley. You'd be arrested.
Yeah.
You're in California, isn't someone calling the police
Yep.
right now on you?
Yep. Did you hear about that British guy Boris was recorded by his neighbors in a fight with his girlfriend or something?
Yeah, I heard about this. Boris Johnson, right? The guy that's going to probably be the prime minister.
Yeah. I mean, I hope, because he's pro-Brexit.
Yeah.
The other guy that he's neck and neck with, I don't know if they're neck and neck, but the other guy who's left is not pro-Brexit. So we'll see what happens there. It'd be interesting. But anyways, some neighbor recorded him and his girlfriend in a fight and then released that recording to The Guardian and called the cops.
Nice.
So the cops arrive, and of course they're like, it was just an argument. Like,
How dare he?
They leave. They arrive, they leave. But the recording was released, and the neighbor was so concerned, and it's so fakey. But I was just thinking, like, who could not be recorded ever saying something that they don't want out there?
Yeah, like what's the worst thing you could have been recorded saying in the last year?
When you're pissed and you're yelling, sometimes you say stuff,
I know.
So
I was just thinking about all the times I've like gotten frustrated at home with kids.
Right.
You're like, all right.
Yeah. And then it's like, oh, what? He's a bad parent.
Exactly.
There's that moment. You've been patient all day, and then you've had that one moment.
I always go into it. I always think about, are you playing it again?
Sorry, that happened accidentally.
I always go into every day wistfully thinking like, today I'm going to be the calm dad who is understanding and doesn't get frustrated, and just, about 5 minutes into that, I said enough.
Right.
But I think the left will stoop to the left will do anything except argue their case. Like they will stoop to any level. They will accuse anyone of anything. They will take any extra legal or legal option available for them.
They have no boundaries, no morality.
Except arguing.
Yeah.
Except making the case for their position.
And somehow they end up with this moral high ground, which is crazy.
Well, that's what I was going to say when you were talking about AOC is who did you compare her to in Game of Thrones?
Oh, the High Sparrow.
The High Sparrow, because she's just a moral shadow. Like she can just say whatever she wants because she's regarded as good.
Right.
So anything, no matter how, she just says something and then it's up to everyone else to synthesize her genius moral speak into some sort of action plan, even if the logical implications are insane. We're just to believe that because she's good and it's emanating with good intentions, that somehow, some way, we should do some part of her plan. I mean, that's how the left has operated since inception.
It's like it's weird though, because it's all sort of a sales pitch. I mean, if she said, I think that we need to basically destroy all buildings and houses and airplanes, and we all need to live without electricity, and if she like actually kind of said what she thinks, people would think that was crazy. But instead she's like, all buildings need to be rebuilt to these green standards, but there's no like understanding of what practically that means. So that would mean actually destroying all the, I don't know, maybe they would go for it because that's really, I don't know. I don't understand the left. That's so insane.
I wrote a post about this, and I actually had a point and an insight about this, which is there was an article, gosh, I forgot who the guy was that wrote it, some Washington Post guy, but it was a similar thing where he was lamenting his generation's lack of a cause. And the implication was, that modern generations are lazy and sort of, complacent and all is well. And, he was really upset and lamenting the fact that he didn't have a good cause to sacrifice for. And that was, making life unimportant and uninspiring. And, the implication was that without these kinds of existential crises, the civil rights movement or, whatever the left, that life isn't worth living. And I found that interesting because, to people who value individual rights and freedom and markets and want to achieve real values, we're looking for the lack of an existential crisis. Like that's exactly what we should be celebrating, is the fact that we don't have an existential crisis. And if you want to, cure cancer or come up with a faster computer or, colonize space or whatever, those are existential, I shouldn't say, those are challenges that are inspiring and wonderful and brilliant. I mean, did Thomas Edison need, the civil rights movement or some crisis to inspire him? I mean, just the thought of creating and the curiosity about nature and how things work, and profit motive is what drives great people to achieve great things. And here you have the left saying, the reason I bring this up is because AOC and her et al. Have been saying, this is our World War II moment. We need to sacrifice like that generation. And here, not only is it contradictory in that, the World War II generation sacrificed themselves to protect freedom and, America and American values from Nazism and communism.
Yeah, what do they want? They just want some giant drama or something.
But they want us to sacrifice for dictatorship.
Right.
I mean, they were sacrificing to...
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like there's a huge cause. We've never been less free. The cause of like getting back to a free society, which I don't really, I feel like we're increasingly not in. I'm sorry, my maid is vacuuming right outside my door for the 4th time in the last 5 minutes.
That's a first world
that?
problem. My maid is interrupting my podcast. That's not something you would have said 20 years ago. But no, what I was just saying is that there's like 2 levels in which that's ironic. One is that, here they're calling this a World War II moment when those people were sacrificing for freedom, and they want dictatorship. They want to, oppress everyone out of luxury into,
fighting
being cavemen.
them is the real World War II moment. Actually.
And at the same time, just this whole idea that life isn't worth living unless you have this sort of like sacrificial cause,
right.
which is completely, and that's really on a moral level where we should be with this, is understanding that these people, they want you to suffer. I mean, that's like the essence of life to them is we need to suffer. We need to find some cause. And so they found it, get rid of meat and air travel and cars and crush all the buildings and rebuild. I mean, this is what they want to do. They want your life to be worse.
Right. It's crazy.
And as long as there's this sort of like moral intentionality behind it, or it's seen as moral, which environmentalism largely is because of all the propaganda, then, anything she proposes is like, and they'll even say that, well, even the people on her side are like, well, this is a little extreme, but it's in the right idea. She has the right intentions. We see what she's doing, and then so what are they going to do? Say, well, we'll just cut air travel by 25% and we'll cut cars by 15%. And,
for a starter,
we'll only take down like 50% of the buildings in America, which will only cost us 10 trillion instead of 20 trillion.
Meanwhile, we're going to pay off everybody's student loans, apparently.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I just hope, and I just can't believe that the majority of America would go for this kind of crap, but we're in trouble when the baby boomers die, I think, because like still in that generation is, a lot of patriots, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that they're kind of holding back the tide at this point. People like my dad, Anyway. Okay. So we have a little bit of time left. How about we read some of these sketches that are comedy sketches?
Okay. You got a couple?
Yeah, I can start with, so I gave you the Democrat Debbie Downer.
Yeah, I like that one.
Okay. The sketch idea was it's like a drug commercial format. And are you addicted to government? Do you find yourself thinking there ought to be a law every time you run into a problem? Do you scream and yell at people who don't agree with you? Do you think pouring money into government schools will make them better, even though you've also experienced DMVs and post offices? That's it.
I love it. What would the side effects be?
Yeah, right.
For freedom, if you want freedom. Side effects may contain
junk in your neighbor's yard.
Yeah. Like occasional murder by gun.
Right. Your neighbor overdosed on heroin.
like rampant progress and prosperity.
Trips to the moon.
Poor people being uplifted into middle class. Longer life expectancies.
Right. Yeah, so that's a good one. That one should happen. And I think like that one I could just film that. All I need is me, you know?
So
and then put together some clips of people running through the grass happily.
That's a pretty easy one. I think we could do that.
Yeah, that one would be easy. You want to help me write that one?
Yes.
Okay, let's do it.
That's a good one.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
And then, so here's one I had, I think, in the last couple of days. There was some sort of like acid attack. You know, these acid attacks are going on in London. And apparently these people were dressed in burqas or something, and they poured acid into these cars. This was in the news today, I think.
Okay.
And I was thinking, like, you know those BBC detective dramas, which I'm totally addicted to. I love BBC detective. Like, Sherlock Holmes would be the ideal, but you know, there's all these other detectives like Inspector Morse and Poirot and people like that. So you could have and they're really complex plots. They're never just dumb plots. You know, they're really intricate, and these are like hour and a half shows.
It's very
you know,
hard to
like,
solve this murder.
I mean, they have to. I mean, you're just going through this long train of complex facts, which finally integrate into some brilliant murder. You know, so you'd have this BBC detective who, you know, it's like obviously a Muslim attack, but he's been completely stymied by political correctness, where it's like Sherlock Holmes is, he's going through this long deduction, and he just gets to the point of like, let's see, they were wearing burqas. Well, Islam is the religion of peace, so it can't be a Muslim.
You could take that so far, like there could be a paper straw as evidence in the area, and think a good person was here.
right. They're getting all the wrong.
There's a witness. We have a witness. There's a paper straw. Nobody who uses a paper straw could commit a murder.
Yeah, or like if it's someone who drove into pedestrians and yelled Allahu Akbar,
right?
Like they have to dismiss that as a possible evidence because, you know, it would be politically incorrect. Because I think even in this article, they weren't even identifying the suspects as, you know, we don't really know who they are. You know,
these days,
like video evidence.
If you have no description and no composite sketch, you know it's a Muslim.
Correct. Oh yeah, exactly.
100%. And that happens in the U.S. too.
Yeah, they will not admit.
But we're not in trouble or anything.
No. It's just someone did something.
Right.
Like just like Ilhan Omar said, right?
Yeah.
A bunch of people
did some
something.
things.
People did some things. Police are searching for the suspects.
I love it. So like it's kind of like a serious show, and he's really trying to solve it, and he's always looking pensive and like anxious about the fact that he hasn't solved it yet. And
you know how they'll have Holmes go through this unbelievable deductive reasoning, like, how in the world did you know that, Sherlock? And he'll say, well, you know, his shoes were made of rubber and they had some salt on them, which means this, which means that. So then he just always gets to this point where, you know, involves, you know, Allahu Akbar or burqas.
I think at the end they should arrest Tommy Robinson. And the deductive reasoning will be like some long weird chain that doesn't actually lead to Tommy Robinson, but
it all leads to Tommy Robinson.
But it must be Tommy Robinson. Well, I was looking for a bad man.
Or a pro-Brexit guy.
Some pro-Brexit person, right. Okay, here's another one I have. This one's kind of funny. I don't know. The things that pop into my mind, I tell you. This one is, I called this sketch Antifa hunting. So it would basically be a girl on horseback, like in a fox hunt. She's got her riding crop, and she comes out of, she's on horseback, and she comes and she just whips the Antifa people. That's it.
Yeah. I like that one.
That's a little more difficult to produce that one. I have to have a horse. And
Yeah, I don't think you're going to be able to whip that
Some
one out.
dogs.
Okay, so here's one I had. I think we talked about actually doing this, which was you're in a restaurant and the restaurant works instead of like we all know how it works where you order from a menu and it's like all the prices are on the menu and it's really clear what everyone's role is and what everything's going to cost. It's run like a doctor's office.
Right.
Where everything is paid by like a third party and the menu there's like really no menu of services and it's completely unclear.
You have the menu and it makes no sense. First of all, it's in like language words that you can't understand, and there are no prices.
You have to sign a bunch of forms over confidentiality about your food tastes, and then they have to try and fit your order into some insurance bucket, so that they can get reimbursed. And then it's
the middle of your experience, the waiter is changed to a different waiter.
Exactly. And then they have to submit the order to like a third
all over
party
again.
to determine whether like your order's justified or not.
Right.
And they like look at your condition and whether it's like culinarily necessary for you to like eat that particular meal, and they decide whether you get dessert or not, and then you have to wait for like sometimes they tell you to come back in like 6 weeks to get it, and you could just riff on the whole socialized medicine thing. I think
totally.
that would be great.
That would be funny, and that one would be kind of easy to produce too, because it would just be like in a restaurant, one scene with just some people.
Totally.
Yeah,
totally.
that's a good one. Okay, I had another. Here's a PSA one, where it's don't vote. You know those vote PSAs?
Yeah.
This is don't. Please don't.
Please don't.
Like if you haven't read the news, like if you haven't read anything but Media Matters, don't vote.
Oh, you've got to do this because you can do this by yourself. This is great.
Yeah, I think I should prepare this for the next election. Don't vote.
If you're under 30.
Please don't vote.
If you haven't had a job, if you don't own property.
If you don't pay taxes, definitely don't vote.
If you're currently in an American university.
Yeah. If you're an illegal.
Especially grad school.
Don't vote. Just on and on.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah. But mostly it's like, what got me thinking about it was it's like these get out the vote things are so ridiculous because the people who don't want to vote shouldn't freaking vote.
Right.
Like to me, it's like, why do we want those people voting? I mean, I know why the Democrats do because they vote Democrat.
Of course, they never say that.
Because they're not good citizens.
Really
because they don't really understand the country and they don't really, they don't really give a shit. And they probably have some services and they have to be sort of motivated to get out and vote.
Well, and when you're younger, I think you're more prone to wanting big government because you don't understand the consequences of it. You haven't had experience as a taxpayer.
Yeah, right.
And you haven't had experience owning property or
you've
conflict.
Been brainwashed. So you have to like get out and see the real world for a decade before you kind of change your mind about that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So we should like rock the non-vote, or we should have some other word for it.
Rock the stay home and don't vote.
Rock the stay home. In fact, maybe you have the concert during the vote to like distract everyone, and you have like strippers and all sorts of stuff to like keep the college kids from voting. Like just stay here. You hand out like free.
This is like a couple different sketches.
No.
Now we're getting into the same thing, like the same activist organization just plans non-voting events.
Right. Free beer.
To distract the idiots. Okay. Let's see. Something here. This one I'll just read you what I wrote down. Sexual harassment / closeted Republican. Woman is talking to a friend, debating whether to tell something. Her job is at risk. Her family might disown her. Her friends might unfriend her. Eggs might get thrown at her house. Implication is that it's a sexual harassment or something like that. And then it turns out she's just a libertarian. Or like a Republican or something like that.
That's complicated.
Yeah, let's see. So she's talking to a friend and she's saying things like, I'd love to be able to admit this, but I might get fired, and like she's scared, and she's like talking to a friend trying to.
Could be group therapy.
The friend is like, you need to tell someone, like it's like she's encouraging her to be strong and
like she's a rape survivor.
Right, exactly. But at the end, it's just that she's a
or
Republican and she's afraid to admit it.
That would be totally right in California.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God, so much. I'm sure I've told you about the time that was right after we moved here, and I enrolled my daughter in this little school, and I was there for like the night before the school started. They did this like parents thing where we all met, and there are these women talking, and I'm standing in this group of women, and there was this woman there that I really liked. Like I immediately connected with her, and I thought, oh, I've made a friend. I'm so excited I have a friend. And then we're standing in the circle, and she says, I hear there's a lot of Republicans here or something. And she said it like whispering, like she had just moved to the area from San Francisco, and we're in a more rural community. We're San Francisco we're in wine country, so it's really a farm country. And she said that like whispered, like, oh my God.
Yeah, she would have been less concerned if they were like pedophiles there or something.
Yeah, right. Pedophiles, they're just humans with a problem.
That's how they're oriented. Yeah, it's just an orientation.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There was a Silicon Valley that kind of was like that, where this counterparty to them was like a Christian, and the guy's like, you can be gay, you can be trained, you can be anything in Silicon Valley except a Christian. So they basically had to kill the contract because this guy refused.
So another sketch I had is I came up with this idea. I can't believe she's still vacuuming out there, by the way. Like, I think it's vacuumed, but whatever.
Oh, your place must have been really dirty.
It must have been.
God. She loves that vacuum.
Oh, yeah. This is what happens when you don't have the studio. Actually, we're just recording on a day I don't normally do the podcast. But
right, we threw this together.
So this one's kind of funny. I think it has to be adjusted now because I came up with this idea when the millions of refugees were streaming into Europe, and like 1 million of these people were going into Germany, and I wrote this thing called "We Forgive You" for Hitler. And it would just be like one of these jump cut PSAs that you see where the celebrities say the same thing over and over.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah, and it was, we forgive. I actually wrote the script for this, so I'm going to read a little bit of the script. Now, this could be changed to fit modern current immigration problems. But anyway, we forgive you, jump to another celebrity. I forgive you, Germany, jump to another celebrity. We forgive you for Hitler. We forgive you. We forgive you. We know you voted for him, but people vote for dictators all the time. Jump to somebody else. It's not your fault. Well, it's kind of your fault, but we forgive you. You weren't even alive then. Well, some of you were, but we forgive you. British girl says, do I have to forgive them? Then jump to, we forgive you. Look, you made a mistake. Let it go. Let it go. It's in the past. Stop hurting yourself. Suicide is never the answer. Stop committing suicide by migrant. You don't need to let in rapey hordes of third world men to overrun your country and change the culture forever. We forgive you. It was just like,
wow.
It goes on from there.
Awesome.
It's long. It's like I read you half the script.
That's really good.
And like, I love making fun of Germans. So.
Yeah, they're an easy target. That's great. I was thinking about, could we do that with reparations? I guess it doesn't work the other way. I gotta think about that.
Let's see. I was thinking you could do that with like colonialism, just Europe in general with colonialism. And it could just be a bunch of brown people saying, we forgive you. Don't commit suicide. Keep Europe. Please, just stop.
I like the idea of rapey hordes. That's a good line.
Yeah. Rapey hordes of, what did I say? Rapey hordes of third world men. There's There's one line here. We even love your tendency to be over-controlling. No, really, it's cute. It's helpful sometimes, like in car manufacturing and spreadsheets and socialism. We love your new 5-year plans. And then at the end, it's like a Jew saying, I'm not saying I love you, but I forgive you. No more suicide by migrant. Stay German. We forgive you. Stay German.
Wow. I like it.
That would have been very controversial. I think that's it. I think I have more somewhere, but in the short time, those are the ones I dug out.
Oh, wait, you had another one. Oh, no, I'm not going to be able to remember it. All right, because I remember there was one.
I had one recently that was super good.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
It was the Antifa person who was...
don't say that one, because that one's coming out. That one I wrote the sketch for already. That one is like the first video I'll do when I'm ready to do videos again.
Okay.
But no, I had one recently. I didn't write the script, but I just had the idea, and I cannot remember where it is. Like, I actually wrote the dang script for it, and it was like a month ago. Can't remember.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Got to keep these things in one place. I'm a little disorganized. Yeah. So that's it. I think that's it for our show. It's been an hour, Doug. We said, can we do this? Can we talk about nothing for an hour? Apparently we can.
We can talk about anything.
We can.
Sorry.
That's why we do a podcast.
I apologize in advance.
To get out our inner turmoil by creating content.
Creating content. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Thanks for joining us this week at the House of Sunny podcast. Hey, everybody. I am on Subscribestar now, so you can support the show again. We left Patreon in a moral hissy fit. We left Patreon in January, and now we're on Subscribestar. So please, if you did support the show in the past, please go over to Subscribestar, House of Sunny. Support us again. If you're new, you want to support the show, just a couple bucks a month, and you can be in Sunny's Elite Squad. And there's a Facebook group for that. And what else? Oh, I'm on BitChute now as well, House of Sunny.
Because I thought you said bitch shoot.
It's, it's close. It's a shoot for bitches. And I'm on there because I'm a bitch. I'm on BitChute. I got to be honest, it's not the greatest platform, but it's the only YouTube alternative. So I'm on there. I have a channel. Go over there. I had trouble uploading the last podcast, but I'm going to try again today. And then I'll get this one on there somehow. It wouldn't take it. I don't know why. It doesn't have the same amount of features. It doesn't play as well on an iPhone. Like it doesn't have an app because Apple won't let them in the App Store. So it's a little cumbersome and awkward, but I really would like
issue, man.
I really would like you to subscribe to me over there because I don't know what's going to happen. I just don't trust anything. I mean, I'm not making all that controversial stuff right now, but on my channel from the past is stuff that no way would it get approved today. Mm-hmm. So if somebody digs that up and files a complaint, I mean the one where I'm wearing a hijab or the one where I make fun of this MTV video about this girl.
Make fun of people?
I basically do blackface, like by accident. Remember that one?
Yeah.
I'm just showing that they do make makeup darker for dark-skinned people, and I accidentally put it all over my face. So it's just an accident. But that could easily trigger me losing my channel. I have a lot of subscribers over there. I have a lot of subscribers at Facebook. I could get banned on Facebook at any moment. So please go subscribe to my channel on BitChute, support me on Subscribestar, and yeah, that's it. So I'll put the links below in the notes. Thanks very much. See you next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the House of Sunny podcast. Go check out Sunny on YouTube at her channel, House of Sunny. Everything Sunny does is fan-funded, and because she's likely to get kicked off and demonetized on every platform at some point, please support her over at patreon.com/House of Sunny. Become one of Sunny's elite squad and have access to behind-the-scenes footage, t-shirts, special events, and more.